Well, good morning and welcome to our regular city council meeting. It's nice to see people involved in government, and we appreciate the participation. We will jump right in and call the meeting to order, and today we'll have an invocation from everyone's favorite Wichita police personnel, Charlie Davidson, and following Mr. Davidson's invocation, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance, and we invite you to join us for both of those. Charlie, great to have you.
Thank you. All right, good morning. Welcome to this beginning of July 2nd City Council meeting. Let's bow our heads and have a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this morning, and we thank you for this beautiful weather that we've been having here in this great city. Pray that, Lord, you continue to work in all of our hearts, continue to work through this city. Lord, I pray for our city manager, our assistant city managers, our department directors, God. I pray that you continue to impress upon them divine wisdom, divine guidance as they continue to lead and guide and direct this city. Lord, I pray the same for our city council, our mayor, Lord, that you would impress on their hearts divine wisdom and guidance. And Lord, help us all work together as a community, as a city government, Lord, to make this the greatest city to live in. And just pray that you continue to give us that direction as we work through these topics today. Lord, just be with us. We thank you for this time that we have to gather together. We thank you for our colleagues, our friendships, and Lord, just pray you continue to give us the guidance each and every day. In Jesus' precious and holy name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
Always nice to see you. We have approval of the minutes of June 25th, 2019. Any changes or corrections? Seeing none, I move that we approve the meeting minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Cast your vote. Motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk, you want to call the next item?
Cindy Miles, presentation on the Safe Haven Law and what the coalition has done to help educate the public.
Good morning, Mayor and Council members. My name is Cindy Miles, and I'm here to represent the Wichita Coalition for Child Abuse Prevention. I'd like to thank you for allowing me to speak this morning on behalf of the Coalition. The Coalition is a collective impact group with more than 116 representatives from 65 organizations formed to create and carry out prevention initiatives as a community response to the cluster of 8 child abuse fatalities in 2008. Its mission is to empower organizations in Wichita to create an effective system to prevent child abuse and neglect. I'm here to educate you today on safe havens and the potential impact these could have on child abuse and neglect in our community. Last year, the Coalition launched a campaign to create awareness of designated safe havens in Wichita and Sedgwick County. The campaign is one of many efforts that the Coalition has launched to reduce child abuse and neglect in our area. All 50 states have passed laws designated to protect newborn children from injury and death caused by abandonment, and exempts a relinquishing parent from prosecution according to certain guidelines. We felt that it was important to step up and let communities in our area know about safe havens to help protect babies. In Kansas, safe havens are provided for under the 2013 Kansas State Statute 382282, the Newborn Protection Act, which allows a parent or other person having lawful custody of an infant, which is 60 days or younger and which has not suffered bodily harm, to surrender physical custody of the infant to any employee who is on duty at a fire station, police station, medical facility, or health department. An important aspect of creating awareness was the installation of these outdoor signs. These are the signs that we created, and I'll let the audience see that as well. And these were installed at all area police and fire stations, as well as area hospitals and health departments. As you drive around the community, we hope you will note the metal signs on these buildings. I'm thrilled to see them. We had some confusion over the difference between a safe place and a safe haven. And so we want to really let the community know that there is a difference. The safe haven is specifically for these babies. A safe place is some place that somebody who's maybe experiencing abuse or they're a runaway or something like that can go to a safe place. So we need the community to understand that there's a difference between those two. So when you see these signs and you see this one in collaboration with the safe place, they are different, they mean different things. Captain Travis Rakestraw of the Wichita Police Department and Cindy of Westlake Medical Center were both instrumental in getting the signs installed, as well as providing training at the designated safe haven, so the staff would understand the process of what action should be taken if a baby is relinquished. We didn't want babies just being dropped off at random places like the fire department and them wondering like, well, what are we supposed to do with this baby? So that was important to provide that training. As a co-chair of this project's work group, it has been my role to raise a couple of $1,000s in private funding and to pay for the signage for this project. And of course, I'm still trying to raise funds so we can continue to expand these signs and awareness out farther outside of the county. Implementation of Kansas safe haven laws is a critical child abuse prevention strategy for newborn babies, and our goal is to educate the public as well as safe haven agencies. Since 1999, 4,002 babies across the country have been relinquished as a result of the Safe Haven Act. So what that means is instead of a parent leaving a baby in a trash can, or as we saw recently, wrapped in a plastic bag and left in the woods, or other ways that they dispose of newborn babies, if we create awareness of the Safe Haven laws, we can let them know that they don't have to do away with their babies in such a way. They can simply take them to a safe place, drop them off, walk away, they'll be taken care of. And that's what we want to see. We don't want to see another child lost ever. And I know in this community, we've seen the loss of a number of different children over the past several years, which is heartbreaking to me. If you have questions about a relinquishment situation, you can call the Kansas Children's Service League. They have a 24-hour helpline at 1-800-CHILDREN. You can also support the Wichita Coalition for Child Abuse Awareness initiative, such as this, by sending donations to the Kansas Children's Service League. I just wonder, again, thank you for your time to present today, as well as the support that the city has provided to help us in raising awareness of safe havens in the community. And again, I hope you'll note the signs as you drive around town and visit the different places, and when you're having conversations out in the community, that you'll be able to help us educate other people on the difference between that safe place and that safe haven. And I do have Lieutenant
Cindy, thank you. You've gone over a little bit.
Oh, I have?
I mean, it's an important message,
Right.
but can you wrap it up in about 10 seconds?
No, I can't. I have Lieutenant Mattern here and Diana Shun with the Child Advocacy Center, should you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Glad to see you're passionate. Madam Clerk, next speaker.
Dr. Carla Lee, report on 2019 Noosa Conference.
Good morning, Mayor Longwell and council persons. I'm chair for Noosa, and this year I was unable to attend because of my husband's cardiac emergency. So Pamela King Burns went as delegate for our Wichita Independent Neighborhood Association. She'll give a short report of the conference, and we are very grateful for your financial support.
Yeah, I appreciate you both being here, but what I would encourage you to do is next time sign up the speaker that's going to speak, because we typically only allow one speaker.
Oh, okay. Do we get a pass today?
We're giving you a pass today.
Forgiveness, good. That's what I do as a pastor. Thank you. I am Pamela King Burns, and I am grateful. First things first, we want to, as the Wichita Independent Neighborhoods Board of Directors, want to tell the City of Wichita, thank you for working with us and allowing us to go to Palm Springs for the Moosa Conference, the Neighborhoods USA. And my mission today is to create a curiosity in you. This this conference started in 1975, and it was created by two people. There were 70 attendees and 41 cities. I am so glad to tell you that down through first of all, the city of Wichita hosted a Moosa conference in 1979. And this year, there in Palm Springs, there were 800 to 1,000 people plus at that conference from all around the world. As a matter of fact, a gentleman wrote my name in Japanese, and I told him, "Sheshe ni?" And he said, no, it's, what's the word, the Japanese word? Arigato. I'm Japanese. And I was like, yes, sir, sheshe. Thank you. But it was wonderful. Bahamas were there. They are creating 126 different neighborhoods across their nation. They had their national security, the Honorable Marvin Dames. He is the Minister of National Security. He brought 26 of his representatives. You all, I know you're going through your slides, and I appreciate that, but I'm skipping through so that I can finish within time. So the WIN awards that we've won, we were the Who's Who neighborhood in 2012, 2016, Best Neighborhood of the Year for collaboration between church, the city of Wichita, DAB number 5, et cetera, and two-time presenter at the Noosa was Dr. Carla Lee, and Best Neighborhood of the Year. So we've been very active and representative in the neighborhood, in the Noosa conference. This year's tracks, rolling right along, were diversity, youth, and aging. I highlighted those that I attended. Technology, neighborhood leadership, sustainability, healthy neighborhoods. And I took classes that really blew my mind. Young people were talking about Mentimeter.com. I was like, whoa, you can get votes from people you're giving presentations to. Back to the Future, bridging divides between sectors, cultures, and generations. And we all know that those are very, very important things. So what we have decided to do, the Board of Directors for WIN, our next steps include, we make this presentation here, and then the WIN University, to which you all are invited this fall, will make another presentation, and then we'll go throughout the neighborhood associations and make our report and share the fundraising and the educational pieces that we learned while we were there. Plus, we're going to give answers for our community listening sessions because I am a county girl. The next thing, we're going to compete. You all have before you packets. I call it a calling card from Arkansas. Karen, you told me to give this to you. Arkansas gave us 2 pens. Mayor Longwell, you feel free to take one of those Arkansas pens off of there. But they gave us 2 pens, and they told us that we're coming to Arkansas next year. We'd like to take more than just one delegate. The pens you see coming around are pens that, may I see your pen, please? Are pens that they gave me in exchange for the PENs that you all have before you. I kid you not, every time I took a pen and pulled out this banner for someone to see, I was surrounded by people from every state in the union and from around the world. So next year, people are going to have these banner pens, and Wichita, we're going to have to come up with something different to be greater than.
Pastor, you two have gone over your 5 minutes, so if you could wrap it up.
All right, certainly I will, because I'm an hour preacher. But anyway, the last slide talks about how we can apply to have this convention or this conference come to to the city of Wichita. One thing I did discover while I was there is that we here in the city of Wichita are already doing the best of what they showed us down there. And again, we tell you thank you, and we appreciate the opportunity to go and represent the city of Wichita.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you, Mayor.
Madam Clerk, I'm going to call the next speaker, please.
Looks like someone is wanting to speak on Dr. Carla.
No, that was
it.
That was just.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Sybil Strum wants answers to your questions and central inspection investigated.
Hello, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council members, people here, and people out there. I reside at 3000 West Douglas, apartment 412. I am still asking you to investigate why Central bullies people. Everywhere I went, they would stalk me. Even when I was in houses that belonged to some other person, they made me pay for it. I want you to know I am not happy in this town. But I'm not going to get out because I have done things for the community, and I expect the community to treat me with decency like I've treated everyone here. It's really, the Central came in my house without my permission and started marking things down. I did not even get my letter until 2000-something. And, I was very upset because the guy said to my neighbor, who was a neighborhood watch, I've told Brandon about it, that he didn't care. He wasn't going to give his name. And he said he would tear my house down. Well, he won. He tore my house down. I've been in a terrible place, and I want answers. And I guess she couldn't put down, why am I being treated like an outcast of my own community? I know you sit here, and when the businesses want money, you're there for them. When it's other people in different countries, you're there for them. And other people. I am a good person. I need to know why you let Central bully people. I've gone down my neighborhood, my other neighborhood, and there are stuff on people's porches. But I'm not going to be telling you about it because you need to find out yourself. I'm not the only one that's targeted. There are others that are targeted by the Central. Now, I was told by John Todd, just because I want to go for 6th District City Council, that's when all the heck, that's how all it broke out. So you better please, I'm not threatening because I know that's against the law. Would you please find out why they could be bullies? They're supposed to be compassionate to the people. And you keep saying you want to help people. You don't help people. I've gone to the midnight housing. I've gone to the project neighborhood. They wouldn't help me. There was a house down the street where teenagers ripped it all up, but they did their job. So I'd like you to know, I do not like the Central. They are not compassionate, and they need to be investigated. So thank you. And I beat my clock.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, next speaker.
Scott Lucas, Wichita Transit System and benefits of continuing to support the Wichita Civic Engagement Academy.
Good morning. I guess I'm up here wearing multiple hats like most of you do every day. One of those hats would be as a engaged citizen. I think the other hat I wear is I have the privilege of serving as the vice president for career and technical education at WSU Tech. And so there was a crossroads where those two came together, and through the Civic Engagement Academy, one of our tasks was to ride Wichita Transit for a day. And so I thought, well, ultimately anyone can ride Wichita Transit for a day. So I chose to ride Wichita Transit for a week. And so the experience that I did there, I shared on Facebook. It wasn't by any means any type of specific research. It was just for me to understand what the experience is for my students and for my community. And so I shared my findings with Dr. Claycomb, Councilwoman Tuttle, Director Tan, and it really opened my eyes to what our community and the folks in our community go through. So what I found out afterwards is I am what's called a choice rider because I made the choice. And so understanding what those folks that ride transit every day go through, that it's not a choice. And I think that really opened my eyes to what's happening in our transit system and anything that we can do to support them to provide opportunities, I would wholeheartedly support. So I'll give you a couple of small examples. I live in Benjamin Hills, is where I live. That was another reason why it was easy for me to do the busing system, because I see the bus every day in my neighborhood. And so it takes me 17 minutes to go to work. I work at NCAT on North Webb, and so 17-minute drive. So for me to take the bus from my house is an hour and 35 minutes. That's the quickest I can get to work using Wichita Transit. Out of that hour and 35 minutes, about half is actually on the bus. So you got to remember, I got to walk. I got to walk to the bus stop. I got to walk from the bus stop to my office. So door to door, an hour and 35 minutes. Part of that is there's a wait time based off of our current system. Part of it is it's just our current system. So the spoke and hub system is what we currently use. In other metropolitan areas, what I found out since then is, there are major thoroughfare opportunities that shorten ride time. So as we look at expanding opportunities for our citizens, I would highly encourage you to continue to support and find opportunities for Wichita Transit. The socioeconomic piece of the cultural piece of what opened my eyes was phenomenal. Things that, I see at WSU Tech a lot, but things I saw every day on the bus as far as what we're doing on Wichita Transit to help our citizens. It truly opened my eyes to what people go through, the social networks that are happening on the bus outside of your normal social network opportunities. So that's kind of my spiel for that. I did share my results, like I said, on Facebook, and it really opened a lot of people's eyes, both in our town and outside. The final piece is just to encourage you to continue to support the Civic Engagement Academy. I am the only two-time attendee, so I was part of the second cohort, and I actually got sick and couldn't make the last classes. I was given the opportunity to go ahead and finish, but I really felt like the value that it provided, the eye-opening experience of interacting not only with you and your staff, city staff, but also just visiting the different centers and different locations. It was something I wanted to do. And so when it came to the third cohort, I signed up and luckily got a second chance. And so I'm your only second chance opportunity for Civic Engagement Academy. I understand there's at least one more grant-funded opportunity there for Civic Engagement Academy, but if we can look at possibly funding that after the grant is open, I do think it is a great opportunity to help our citizens understand the inner workings of the city, get your perspective on a personal basis, which I really did appreciate, understand the viewpoints of city staff with regards to day-to-day operations in some specific moments. So thanks again for your time. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you sharing your experience. I know you did it by choice. I have a 37-year-old daughter who has cerebral palsy that doesn't ride by choice. She rides because she physically cannot drive. And I wish we had a more robust transit system for those that don't ride by choice and those that do ride by choice. Because there's many in our community that don't have a choice, and I have a 37-year-old daughter that can speak firsthand to that. And so it's a challenge. So certainly is a challenge as we continue to find the dollars to fund those, because the federal government has quit sending us the dollars that we used to get to fund our transit system. So it's more on the backs of Wichitans than it's ever been before, but I have faith that we'll get there. We are trying to get a little bit away from that hub and spoke, and we're doing some things that will help us get to more of a grid system. The reality is this community had a grid system at one time, but they quit supporting transit, so we went away from the grid system. We had a great transit system back in the day, but if people don't support it, then obviously the funds aren't there. So it's a challenge. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Consent agenda items 1 through 13.
Any items on the consent agenda need to be pulled for clarification or discussion? Seeing none, I move that we approve consent agenda items 1 through 13.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Cast your vote. Motion passes 7-0. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Report of Board of Bids and Contracts dated July 1st, 2019.
Good morning, Mayor, members of the City Council. Jason Brogdon, Finance Department. Presenting today the July 1st Board of Bids formal bid report. The first bid is the engineering bid, is water distribution system to serve Village Charters 3rd edition. The recommendation is to reject all bids. The next bid is a first purchasing bid, is the trash containers and collection services. The recommendation is to defer to July 8th, which is the next Board of Bid meeting. The next bid is the fiberglass hinge frame and lid. The recommendation is to reject all bids. And the last purchasing bid is the 2019 pavement rehabilitation for the airport. The recommendation is to defer to July 8th, next Board of Bids. These are the bids. I will stand for any questions.
So you had two items where you said reject all bids, but didn't have a date in there to make any changes. What will happen if we reject all bids?
So the airport one, they were evaluating, it was over the engineer's estimate, so they're evaluating it to see what their next steps. Same way on the other bid that was rejected, it was over budget, so they're evaluating their options to see what they can do to move those forward.
So how much was Village Charters over budget?
I don't know the engineer's estimate on that.
Can anyone get that information to us?
We can get that information to you.
Gary, do you have it now?
Gary Jansen, Public Works Engineering. I do have that information because unfortunately the bid was almost $1 million over our estimate. And I'll explain to you real quick why, and we're trying to figure out what to do different. We thought it seemed the most prudent to come from the south, which means we've got to cross under K-96. That presents some challenges and some additional costs, basically for a boring operation. We have to put steel casing in under the highways required by KDOT to run a pipe through. One of the things that was hard for us to predict is the groundwater up in that area is high already with the recent rains. It's at an all-time high right now, which requires a completely different operation. That one item alone was almost $1 million higher than we estimated just to get under K-96. And we talked to multiple pipe contractors about that during design and never got that indication. We're taking another look to see if it may make some sense to come from the north like we had originally planned. It's going to require obtaining easements. But right now, with the way those projects are funded annually through the CIP, if we have to make up that difference in cost, we effectively eat up the next 2 years of funding just to get water to that one site. We've got to do something. Their building is well under construction, and we're gonna have to get there, but I don't know that I know the answer just yet. So we're scrambling now to try and figure that out.
And I would encourage us to expedite the scrambling, because I've heard from the person that's developing that development, and they are already frustrated with the delays of getting infrastructure to them.
We will do that.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or concerns? Seeing none, I would move that we approve the award of bids.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Cast your vote. Motion passes 7-0. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Petition to abate asbestos at 150 North Main.
Good morning, Mayor and members of City Council. Mark Elder with the Office of Economic Development. The item before you today is a petition for asbestos remediation at 150 North Main. The project at this time is just a request to do the asbestos, and so that project cost is a little over $500,000. The developer is requesting the remediation now to make the building safe for the overall demolition and rehabilitation. So their final project design and redevelopment would follow in that remediation as they work on the rest of those plans. But this time they're asking for public safety and to allow the interior demolition to occur to move forward with an asbestos petition today. 150 North Main is here on this aerial at 1st and Main Street there. It's a building that's been vacant for several years now and has had some issues with that. You can see on the first floor in these photos the fact that there's fencing around it now, and on this one you can see the fact that a lot of those windows are boarded on the first. So there is an overall plan to make improvements to the building, but this asbestos petition is the first step on that. This is one concept that they propose, just to kind of give an idea of what they're considering. They are still working on the final plans to look at what they might do for the overall project. And with this is the maximum assessment estimate here with the project cost of the $511,000, as well as a 10% construction contingency, which we always factor into these, as well as the administrative financing cost, which would put a maximum assessment on that building at $655,000. This would still go through the traditional special assessment financing, where specials are spread against that building over 15 years with the interest rate set by the bond sale. The owner will finance those construction costs up front and be reimbursed when that project is complete, and we're ready to spread those specials against that. With this one, because we don't have a final plan as well as a final timeline for the project, there is an additional stipulation that the developer will move forward with the remodel plans and complete that remodel, pass a final inspection prior to receiving a certificate of occupancy, and the reimbursement would not incur until that certificate of occupancy is issued, to give the city assurances that this asbestos remediation project occurs, and then have building lingering. So it gives us security to make sure that the project is completed, or that the funds don't go out until that project is completed. The next steps, following the acceptance of the petition and the adoption of the resolution today, would set a public hearing for July 16th, where we'd have the discussion on this project, as well as set the maximum assessment ordinance. And then once that project is complete, with the final assessments would be set. There is a representative of the development team, which Main Street Partners, here today, if there are any questions for them. Otherwise, I will stand for any questions.
Any questions? Councilmember Frye?
Just to be clear, Mark, the green sheet references a facade project. There is no facade improvement.
It's just asbestos at this time. I apologize. I thought facade was pulled out. They follow the same path on that, but this is specific to asbestos remediation.
Thank you.
If there's no other questions, excuse me, we'll go out to the audience. Anyone like to address the council on this agenda item? Seeing none, we'll bring discussion back to the bench. Turn it over to Councilmember Claycomb, even though it says District 5.
I know.
I'll second it if she wants.
Yeah, okay, all right.
We've changed the boundaries of District 5.
It's been adjusted.
It's creeping into District 6. So today, Mark, you're asking to set the a resolution for setting the public hearing, not for recommending accepting, or do we accept the
Correct.
petition?
Well, the petition just accepts it, but we don't have any authority until the ordinance is adopted following the
Okay.
public hearing.
All right, so I recommend that City Council accept the petition, adopt the resolution, and authorize the necessary signatures.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Cast your vote. Motion passes unanimously, and it's nice to see interest in vacant buildings. That's another vacant building that's going to be occupied. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Community event resolution, Wichita Convoy of Hope.
Good morning, Mayor and City Council. Laura Hadley with the Division of Arts and Cultural Services. So today for you, we have a community event resolution for the Wichita Convoy of Hope, which is scheduled to occur on July 20th at the Bethel Life Center over on South Meridian. The purpose of the event is to provide goods and services to the underserved and impoverished. The event site does not meet the requirements of the Unified Zoning Code due to parking and egress areas that are unpaved. The resolution, if passed, would allow for non-compliant use of the unpaved areas. And this slide then shows a site diagram for the event. And I will stand for any questions.
Any questions? We'll go out to the audience. Anyone out in the audience like to speak on this agenda item? Or just praise the worthiness of it, maybe? We'll bring discussion back to the bench. Again, this is a program that we are lucky to have returned to our community. I know that Councilmember Clendenin's been at the top of this, bringing it here multiple years, even though it sits in Councilmember Bluebaw's district. I know they're both fond of it, and now we have a portion of it that offers opportunities in Councilmember Johnson's district. So we'll let all three of you fight it out for. Oh, I didn't realize we had someone coming up.
Mayor?
Yes.
And each of you, I appreciate you. I'm Maxine Bostic from 4601 Vesta Drive, and I have volunteered at the Bethel part and McAdams, and we do really also need it at McAdams. And I remember when Levanta encouraged you all to bring it over there. Not for me personally, but my neighbors need it. And so I hope it will be expanded to McAdams again. And it is a worthwhile thing for the city, and it helps substantiate the needs. It helps the needs of people. And, tax money can't take care of everything. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for coming up and speaking. Sorry I missed you. Is there someone else that wanted to speak that we didn't get up here? Going once, twice. Now we'll bring discussion back to the bench. So we'll turn it over to Councilmember Clendenin and then Councilmember Johnson.
Yeah, Mayor, I want to thank Convoy of Hope. I have been involved in this. I think they serve about 12,000 people every year between both sites, something like that. Is it 12,000, 6,000, 8,000? I mean, it's thousands of people. And it's something I've been heavily involved in, and I appreciate the city helping out as much as it has. Do you want to address her? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I just want to encourage my colleagues to vote yes. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Mayor. Ms. Bostic, this actually will be at McAdams as well. Today's action is focused on a use that's not allowed at Bethel Life Center. So that's what this is, but the event will be at both sites still. That's it. Thanks.
Very good. And Vice Mayor, you want to make the motion?
All right. Well, thank you guys very much. And I'd like to take staff's recommendation to to adopt the resolution authorizing a use not allowed by the Wichita-Sedgwick County Unified Zoning Code at the Wichita Convoy of Hope on July 20th, 2019, and approve the permit for the community event.
Second. So we have a motion and a second for an outstanding community event. Cast your vote. Motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Wichita Eisenhower Hotel LLC Concession and Lease Agreement, Wichita Dwight D. Eisenhower National Airport.
Mayor, members of the council, this item was delayed from your last meeting to allow for more time to review the agreement. We heard last week informally that there may have been still some concerns on the part of the DoubleTree, so we reached out to the attorney representing the DoubleTree, who we finally reached yesterday. He was unaware of any concerns and asked for time to visit with his client. So what we are asking you to do is to give us 2 weeks to be able to have him circle back with his client, and for us to then, if there are issues, to work with the attorney to try to address those.
Okay.
I'd be glad to answer any questions.
So, any questions on deferring this for 2 weeks?
So do we feel like we'll be able to move forward in 2 weeks, or?
We'll know better after his attorney assesses the situation, and we can determine if there are legal concerns on his part, and our attorneys then have a chance to visit with them.
Does the airport staff, they use our attorneys as well?
That's correct. We have an attorney that's been assigned to this issue, and he's the one that reached out to their attorney.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns? Well, I appreciate staff taking this on. This has been an example of obviously some things that we didn't realize were happening, and I know that I'd mentioned some things to the press. This is something that we can take up another day, but we do need to address how some of these things get on consent agenda without our knowing. And in this case, it was a perfect storm. We didn't have agenda review, and so there were no opportunities for us to know that Bob was planning on putting this on consent agenda, nor did we have any updates on what was going on, so.
Mayor, we visited, and I think we will bring some procedures forward in terms of at least a better way of ensuring that you know the progress on contracts as we go forward. The other thing I wanted to mention, the reason I came back to the podium is I think one of the concerns that I have through this process is that in order to try to move the development forward, we worked diligently to try to get the issues addressed that had come from the attorney at DoubleTree and still keep the project moving. In doing that, that's when we got into this issue about last-minute changes, and I think council's concerned about that. One procedure that I'm prepared to implement is that we lock down our agenda at noon on Friday. And so if anything should arise after that, my recommendation will be, and it's to staff as well as to get endorsement by the council, that an item will have to be delayed.
And that has nothing to do with consent. That's regular agenda.
That regardless, any issue that should come forward.
Right.
So that you're not faced with looking at something on a Monday before you have to vote on it on Tuesday.
Very good, thank you. So at this point, I will make the motion to defer this item to the July 16th meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to defer for 2 weeks. Any other questions? Cast your vote. Motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Councilmember appointments and comments.
Any appointments, comments today? We're all just going to be quiet. All right. I move that we adjourn today's council meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Cast your vote.
Vice Mayor, would you cast your vote, please? Thank you.
And it passes. We are adjourned.